I'm showing you this December 2019 journalism piece I did on the anti-Semitism hate speech laws in America because not only is it more relevant than ever in 2024, but I believe it's one of the best journalistic pieces I've ever done, and it's going to be more in-depth, more detailed, and more accurate than anything anyone in Republican media can provide to you this week. Take a look and leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Appreciate you guys. This is one of my most important videos and messages yet, and I'm not just saying that. Is Donald Trump anti-Semitic? Well, according to the news CNN, Trump is trafficking in anti-Semitic tropes. It must stop. Trump called out for using anti-Semitic tropes about wealth and loyalty in speech to U.S. Jews. Jewish groups blast Trump's anti-Semitic remarks, warning they could have deadly consequences. Truly abhorrent. Another in the long list of anti-Semitic screeds from Donald Trump. But here's the thing. This is not just liberals' fault or liberal media's fault. Republicans are in on it too, and they're selling out your free speech, they're lying to you, and they're going to get you in trouble. This goes for all American citizens. Here's the Department of State and Secretary of State Mike Pompeo saying confidently, anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism.
Anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism.
The problem is, a Jewish liberal journalist says more proof that Zionism is rooted in anti-Semitism. So if you're following it yet, if you're pro-Zionism, you're anti-Semitic by some people, but if you're anti-Zionist, you're anti-Semitic. So no matter what your stance on Israel is, you're anti-Semitic. No matter what your stance on Judaism is, no matter what your stance on anything is, somebody is going to call you anti-Semitic, whether it's the left, whether it's the right, whether it's somebody Jewish or somebody non-Jewish. Every stance is being considered anti-Semitic. But most people don't know what it really means, and it isn't defined like they think it is. Let's go to the State Department's website, Defining Anti-Semitism. They're bragging on this website, anti-Semitic acts are criminal. So you thought free speech was free on the right Republican wing? Well, they lied to you. They sold it out, and we're going to get into that later. Anti-Semitism is criminal. Just violent acts, right? Not harmless speech. Well, no, actually they've sold that out. They've determined that pretty much everything and anything is harmful speech. Here's part of the list that's on the State Department's website. Making mendacious, dehumanizing, demonizing, or stereotypical allegations about Jews, as such as the power of Jews as a collective, such as, especially but not exclusively, the myth about a world Jewish conspiracy or of Jews controlling media, economy, government, or other societal institutions. Accusing Jews as a people of being responsible for real or imagined wrongdoing committed by a single Jewish person or group, or even for acts committed by non-Jews. On this list is also accusing Jewish citizens of being more loyal to Israel or to the alleged priorities of Jews worldwide than to the interests of their own nations. Applying double standards, pretty much what the media does every single day, by requiring of it a behavior not expected or demanded by any other democratic nation. Drawing comparisons of contemporary Israeli policy to that of the Nazis. Meanwhile, in America, they're making films calling Trump supporters and anybody that's conservative literally a Nazi. But don't worry, the State Department doesn't care about you or your political or religious affiliation. Only one, unfortunately. Please pay attention and please watch this whole video. It's gonna get much, much weirder. Apparently, free speech in America can't sort all this out, and you can't just speak the truth and let people know that. They need to regulate you and anybody from thinking that, saying that, suggesting that, or talking about it. And it's being put into law. Not just by liberals, but by your Republican friends as well. Here is Ron DeSantis in Israel passing the first United States Floridian bill on foreign soil. He went over to another country to pass a United States bill. Ron DeSantis signs bill that takes aim at anti-Semitism. The proposal will add religion as a protected class when it comes to discriminations against students and employees. That's awesome. He's adding religion as a protected class, but the problem is he's not just adding all religions, he's adding one religion, but also an entire ethnicity, many of which who are atheist, and an entire country, the one that he's in to sign the bill. Let's look at it. This proposal will add religion as a protected class when it comes to discrimination against students and employees. This legislation lays out examples of what would be considered anti-Semitism, including making mendacious, dehumanizing, demonetizing, or stereotypical allegations about Jews or the power of Jews as a collective, such as the myth about a Jewish conspiracy or of Jews controlling media, economy, government, or other societal institutions. It also puts that dual loyalty into bills, saying, accusing Jewish citizens of being more loyal to Israel or the alleged priorities of Jews worldwide than to the interests of their own nations. And before you try to do what people always do when you disagree with them, call you anti-Semitic, it was actually a group of Jewish Floridian Americans who hammered this anti-Semitism bill calling for a veto. They pointed out two very specific things that anyone with half a brain, even if you live in Israel, should figure out. First, the bill offers some examples of anti-Semitism that do not relate to anti-Semitism, but instead the criticism of the state of Israel. Second, the proposal identifies anti-Semitism and only anti-Semitism as an example of religious discrimination. You can't pass a religious bill for only one religion. Why is Ron DeSantis doing that? Well, I might as well say it now before it's illegal to say, or it gets me kicked off social media, which it might well, which is why they're passing speech laws, because when you have the truth on your side, you don't need speech regulation. I'm pretty sure that's what our founding fathers were thinking, but apparently Republicans are so conservative that they can't even conserve the First Amendment because they want to stop hate speech. Before I get into stuff, you can't regulate out hate speech with laws. That's not how it works. You can't stop people from speaking, demonize them or criminalize them for thinking a certain thing, and then act like all the hate's gonna go away. It's literally why the hate is on the rise, and it's not fair to people. But let's look at perhaps the only thing that Ron DeSantis, Nancy Pelosi, Donald Trump, Mike Pence, John Kerry, and pretty much every politician agrees on. That is their allegiance and loyalty to Israel.
I have said to people when they ask me if this Capitol crumbled to the ground, the one thing that would remain is our commitment to our aid, and I don't even call it aid, our cooperation with Israel. That's fundamental to
So if our capital crumbles, I guess if our country's destroyed, Nancy Pelosi is promising people, don't worry, we'll still give you our financial aid even if we don't have a capital. That's insane loyalty, wow. But don't ever accuse anybody of that, because then you'll get called anti-Semitic, even though they're bragging about it openly. We're connected for good, we're connected for good. They say it every single day, all the politicians, we're connected. But if you say that we're connected, or you suggest we have some sort of loyalty to this country, we might accuse you of anti-Semitism, which now can be legally charged in some states. Pretty weird. Is there any sort of group that might be lobbying politicians? Well, I can't say it or else they'd accuse me of being anti-Semitic, but I'll just play AIPAC. I'm just gonna play their video that they have pinned to the top of their Twitter and on their YouTube.
Please welcome Senate Democratic leader,
the Senate Republican leader.
Please welcome Speaker of the U.S. House of Representatives.
Please welcome Secretary of State.
I'm honored to introduce the Vice President of the United States.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States.
Please welcome back to the AIPAC stage the Prime Minister of Israel.
From day one, Israel found itself in a unique alliance.
The alliance between Israel and the United States of America.
In the United States, our support for Israel is bipartisan, and that is how it should stay.
Our strategic ally, our unbreakable friendship.
America is safer when we stand with Israel.
Because if you care about American security, you must care about Israel's security.
My friends,
America and Israel
Need you more today
than ever before.
May God bless Israel.
And may God bless the United States of America.
Thank you.
So they can say that they're lobbying politicians, but if you or any other politician says it's all about the Benjamin or calls out that they are lobbying, trust me, you're going to get smeared as anti-Semitic, and both sides of the political aisle are going to make you apologize as soon as possible because you're not allowed to say it. They're allowed to say it, but if you dare mention what they just told you, trust me, your life will be ruined. Even Donald Trump seemed to poke fun at this in 2015. Here's a tweet from him saying, Sheldon Adelson is looking to give big dollars to Rubio because he feels he can mold him into his perfect little puppet. I agree. Classic Trump, calling out Marco Rubio saying, Sheldon Adelson's going to give you money and then he's going to try to control you. So let's look at the facts. Sheldon Adelson is giving close to $100 million to Republicans. He's giving Donald Trump donations. Trump recently just spoke with him at a big American-Israeli conference. He gave his wife a Presidential Medal of Freedom and is one of the biggest supporters of President Donald Trump, both financially and literally. I don't have a problem with that, even though I guess Donald Trump in 2015 might have had a problem with that. I have no problem with that. My problem is I don't have free speech anymore to say the truth. And I don't need to say the truth. You can listen to Sheldon Adelson on camera saying what I'm not allowed to say.
I am not Israeli. The uniform that I wore in the military, unfortunately, was not an Israeli uniform. It was an American uniform, although my wife was in the IDF. And one of my daughters was in the IDF, and my two little boys, our two little boys, one of whom will be bar mitzvah tomorrow. Hopefully he'll come back. Thank you. Hopefully he'll come back. His hobby is shooting, and he'll come back and be a sniper for the IDF.
I guess, unfortunately, he served in the U.S. military instead of the Israeli military, and he's very proud of his family serving in the Israeli military, but if you dare suggest that he might have dual loyalties, or AIPAC might have dual loyalties, or Trump and DeSantis or anybody might have dual loyalties, if you dare suggest that, it's on the State Department website, it's a criminal act in some states and some situations, and they're pushing further, and further to stop you from saying what they themselves constantly say all the time. And it's not just liberals doing this. Listen to Donald Trump at the speech next to Sheldon Adelson.
Throughout history, anti-Semitism has produced untold pain, suffering, evil, and destruction. We must not ignore the vile poison or those who spread its venomous creed. My administration is committed to aggressively challenging and confronting anti-Semitic bigotry in every resource and using every single weapon at our disposal.
He's even using the word weapons to weaponize against anti-Semitism. We got to stop anti-Semitism. We have to crack down on it. So it's hard to feel bad for the guy when he gets called an anti-Semite for saying what he says you're not allowed to say, as his State Department, as his politicians, as his friends push further and further for internet censorship and American censorship and anti-First Amendment censorship. Let's move on. It gets even crazier. Here's a video of the Anti-Defamation League admitting that they're getting Google and YouTube to rig algorithms against anti-Semitism and hate speech. So if you're wondering, possibly, why Google and YouTube is bragging about censorship and bragging about rigging their website, maybe this can provide a little bit of insight in their own words.
So we work with Google on using AI to try to interrupt cyber hate before it happens. We work with YouTube to get them to change their algorithms so it lessens the likelihood that a young person's going to run into some of these anti-Semitic conspiratorial videos. We work with Facebook on. It's a remarkable moment that we're in, and anti-Semitism has become so mainstreamed. I mean, we see conspiracy theories like the horrific slander directed against George Soros is a really good example. George Soros is patient zero for the anti-Semites.
Sacha Baron Cohen stood in front of the ADL recently and said that social media was the biggest propaganda machine, and he tried to pressure Mark Zuckerberg and all the companies to push further and control what we think and we read and we can do.
If Facebook were around in the 1930s, it would have allowed Hitler to post 30-second ads on his solution to the Jewish problem. A sewer of bigotry and vile conspiracy theories that threaten our democracy and to some degree our planet. This can't possibly be what the creators of the internet had in mind. I believe that it's time for a fundamental rethink of social media and how it spreads hate, conspiracies, and lies.
It's very creepy. But now we have to take an honest look. Who is the ADL? I'm not sure if facts are hateful yet or if I'm allowed to say this or my whole life's going to be ruined, but I'm just going to go on Wikipedia just like anybody can or go to their website. And you could read the Anti-Defamation League, formerly known as Anti-Defamation League of B'nai B'rith, is an international Jewish non-governmental organization based in the United States. It was founded in September 1913 by the Independent Order of B'nai B'rith, a Jewish service organization. Great. It's not an American Jewish organization. It's a non-governmental international Jewish organization. They want to rig the internet. They call everything anti-Semitic. And our State Department takes the definition of anti-Semitism that's extremely, extremely, extremely broad and wants to criminalize it and push it further and further. Great. Let's take a closer look at stuff that the Anti-Defamation League sees as problematic.
ADL and the University of California at Berkeley's D-Lab have been working to develop a new approach to tackle online hate using the latest methods. The goal of the Online Hate Index is to help tech platforms better understand the growing amount of hate on social media and to use that information to address the problem. By combining artificial intelligence and machine learning with social science, the Online Hate Index will ultimately uncover and identify trends and patterns in hate speech.
You can see a lot of the stuff they're targeting, which is white rights, the Donald, 9/11 truth, men rights, First Amendment, conspiracy, good cop, free donuts, censorship, guns are cool. Isn't that interesting? White, men's rights, guns are cool. The First Amendment is apparently something that they got to monitor. So the First Amendment and the Second Amendment are threats to the ADL, apparently, and men's rights. Very strange. So they're admitting they're getting YouTube to rig its website. And YouTube is bragging about rigging its website. Reduce. Since January 2019, we've launched over 30 plus changes to reduce recommendations of borderline content and harmful misinformation. The result is a 70% average drop in watch time of this content coming from non-described recommendations in the US. So they're bragging about rigging YouTube so 70% less people see borderline content. If you're wondering what borderline content is, it's something that doesn't violate their terms of service, but they've determined it's too close to violating, so they're going to stop it anyway. So they set this BS terms of service that makes absolutely no sense, that's broader than the definition of anti-Semitism, and then they start violating and deleting channels based off of nothing. No one even knows what they're talking about. They never tell you. They just say you violated something. And then even if you don't violate those broad terms that we don't even know what they are, they say you're borderline content. We still don't like you. We still don't like your religion. We still don't like your politics. We still don't like your narrative. We still don't like the fact you like the First Amendment. We still don't like the fact that you like men. We still don't like the fact that you like the Second Amendment. We're going to censor you anyway and call it borderline content. That's like a cop pulling you over and saying, how fast was I going, officer? And he's like, well, you were going 60 miles an hour and the speed limit's 60 miles an hour, but I'm going to pretend like I thought you might be speeding and I don't like you, so I'm going to give you a ticket. These people are tyrannical psychos. And guess what? The CEO of YouTube is Susan Wojcicki, who happens to be a Jewish woman. The ADL happens to be a Jewish organization, and you have Republicans passing bills that criminalize hate speech, not just against religious Judaism, like they say, it's a religion bill. It's a religion bill. No, it's not a religion bill, because first of all, it's only for one religion, and you're not covering all the other religions. But second of all, a lot of these people are not even specifically religious. They're just ethnically Jewish. So Republicans are passing bills that stop you from criticizing power in media, power in tech companies, power anywhere, saying, it might be dehumanizing, it's a mendacious conspiracy theory, possibly we're going to regulate how much you can and can't talk about Israel, we're going to regulate if that was hateful, Trump's anti-Semitic, you're anti-Semitic, anti-Zionism's anti-Semitic, pro-Zionism's anti-Semitic, left is anti-Semitic, right's anti-Semitic, up's anti-Semitic, down's anti-Semitic, and we're just going to push further and further and further, even though the definition is crazy. So it's Republicans selling out your free speech and giving protection to people that they claim to be fighting. I'll give you an example.
Anti-Semitism has become so mainstreamed. I mean, we see conspiracy theories like the horrific slander directed against George Soros is a really good example.
Republicans always say George Soros, and they love to call him out and say he's behind everything, but now that might get you criminalized and blacklisted. It already happened to Ben Garrison, who's a conservative cartoonist. Months ago, he was calling the New York Times anti-Semitic and saying, I'm such a good Republican, I'm going to call you anti-Semitic because I love everyone. And then he got disinvited from the White House because he made a cartoon about the Rothschilds and Soros, and they determined that that was anti-Semitic, and now he can't go to the White House. oh no, but I'm such a good conservative. Well, you're not, because you sold out free speech, you're playing into the lie, and you're digging your own grave politically, socially, and free speech-wise. The First Amendment is not to be infringed upon, and they're infringing all over every aspect of everything. And it's not just liberals doing it, and it's not to blame one group, because a lot of the people doing it, like Ron DeSantis and even Donald Trump and others, they're Christian or Catholic, and they're selling you out. You might be wondering, how come I've never heard this before? How come no one else talks about it? And this might be the most chilling part. Republicans and conservative media not only don't talk about this stuff, but it seems like there's a coordinated effort to blacklist, smear, silence, and censor any right-winger or anybody on the left who goes near this stuff. All of the big conservative favorites who say, no safe spaces, we don't like political correctness, we love free speech. The PragerUs, the Turning Points, the Daily Wires, the Blaze TVs, they're all part of the, if you even mention this at all, we're going to destroy your life, we're going to falsely label you, and we're going to make sure that you never get booked anywhere and you're not allowed to speak at all. They want to label you these things that get you in trouble. If you don't believe me, we're going to take a closer look. This year, just a few months ago, Ben Shapiro said, American Jews, whether ethnic or religious, are loyal to America, not Israel. Any dual loyalty supposition is anti-Semitism. So even if they tell you, I have loyalty to Israel, I'm giving money to Trump for Israel, I want to save Israel, I love Israel, I want my kids to fight for Israel's army, it's anti-Semitism according to Ben Shapiro, because every single American Jew, whether ethnic or religious, are loyal to America, not Israel. It's like me saying every Italian is loyal to America, not Italy. Every single Canadian American, every single Mexican, every single one of us is loyal to America. And if you dare suggest otherwise, that's anti-Semitism, which will be criminalized in certain ways and will get you kicked off certain social media and will get you blacklisted. That's not stopping hate. That's not stopping anti-Semitism. It's just extremely suspicious and extremely anti-First Amendment. And if you don't believe me, believe the Jewish Floridians, the patriotic rabbis and lawyers who I love, who are standing up for free speech more than conservatives are. So don't hide it behind your Judaism or your ethnic Jewishness and try to say anybody who disagrees with me anti-Semitic. There's other Jewish people who don't even like you or don't even agree with you. So stop doing that. But this seems to be a common thing with Shapiro. When Ron Paul was running for president, he said Ron Paul is manifestly insane. As in previous debates, he is now gripping the pen as he would the neck of a Jew. So Ben Shapiro apparently thinks that when Ron Paul grabs his pencil, Ben Shapiro's sick little twisted mind sees him grabbing the neck of his own ethnicity and religion. It's really creepy. So he just grabs a pen and he said, oh, you want to grab my neck like that. You want to grab all our necks. Why? Let's take a deeper dive. Why would Ben Shapiro think that? Well, Ron Paul is that he's 85% correct on domestic policy, but man, what a loon on foreign policy, and all his followers hail from Crazy Town. So if you disagree with Ben's foreign policy, you're an anti-Semite who apparently wants to choke the necks of every single person. What, dude? And if you think you're safe or Donald Trump's safe from Ben Shapiro's anti-Semitic accusations, you're wrong. Because just a few years ago, he made a whole alt-right and alt-right friendly blacklist. And if you're alt-right or alt-right friendly, that's basically saying you're a white supremacist, you're an anti-Semite, this is not the label that you want, and this is the label that they use to target you and say, oh, Charlottesville was your fault, this is you, you're alt-right, you're an anti-Semite, you're a white supremacist. This is Ben Shapiro's list of who he thinks is alt-right. He listed Donald Trump, your president. He listed Ron Paul. He listed Breitbart, who he used to work for. The craziest part is alt-right is very critical of Israel. Donald Trump is super pro-Israel. Alex Jones is super pro-Israel. Breitbart News is super pro-Israel. Mike Cernovich is super pro-Israel. And Ben Shapiro still has the nerve to call them alt-right or alt-right friendly and write this public blacklist that's still available now, basically calling for censors and media groups to target these people. And PragerU says it all the time. You're anti-Semitic, you're anti-Semitic. If you criticize Israel too much for my liking, you're anti-Semitic.
How is one to explain singling out Israel for condemnation? Sadly, only one explanation fits: anti-Semitism.
They just can't stop accusing everything under the sun of being anti-Semitic. I just showed you about that crazy Florida bill, which is a religion bill for one religion, but also for people that aren't religious at all. It's not a religion bill, it's a total sham, an anti-First Amendment sham. Someone asked a question about that to Dan Crenshaw, and listen to his response. He says, "How dare you cloak your anti-Semitism in the First Amendment?"
My question is for Congressman Crenshaw. First of all, I want to thank you for your distinguished service to this country. Congressman, just this year, after a 2017 version of the law was blocked by a federal judge, Texas passed a law that still requires certain contractors to sign a pledge that they will not boycott Israel. The state of Florida has also passed a law outlawing the mere criticism of Israel. Representative Crenshaw, on May 9th of this year, similar legislation was even attempted at the federal level when the House Appropriations Committee sought to amend a routine government funding bill to allow federal agencies to compel contractors to promise not to boycott Israel as a requirement of maintaining their relationship with the U.S. government. Congressman, in spite of our unique and historic alliance, these laws are obvious, flagrant, and troubling violations of the First Amendment and free speech. Given that when you entered office, you swore to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States, my question is this: will you honor your oath and denounce these laws here, now, and forever, or do you agree with Governor DeSantis and Governor Abbott that the First Amendment should only apply to Americans who support Israel?
You're advocating for the First Amendment, or at least you're cloaking yourself in the First Amendment.
I wouldn't presume my intentions. I wouldn't presume my intentions.
It's insane. And the media, this Republican conservative class of Daily Wires, TPUSAs, Blaze TV, they're hailing Ben Shapiro as the savior fighting the alt-right. Oh my goodness, Ben Shapiro had such a great speech condemning the alt-right, these Nazis, these supremacists. They don't even know that he was calling Donald Trump alt-right just a few years ago, and he probably still thinks in his sick little head that Donald Trump and Ron Paul are anti-Semites. Maybe he doesn't think that, but it's like, dude, what's going on? TPUSA recently waged war against the First Amendment and started smearing anybody who asked questions at their culture war event as a racist, anti-Semite, homophobe, alt-right, who needs to be scourged out of the conservative movement, and it's nuts. So you haven't heard about all of the stuff that I'm talking about because these people, whether it's because of donors, recently Milo Yiannopoulos said that it's completely true, it is because of donors, and he has dinner with these donors, and he says, yeah, that's pretty much what it is. Milo's words, not mine. But they seem to have such a huge allegiance to Israel that they'll even give up the First Amendment and our right to speak freely for Israel and for Jewish people. And then under the same breath, they want to call you anti-Semitic if you suggest that any of these people, whether they're Jewish or not, has dual loyalty, when they're openly telling you that they do have dual loyalty. We're connected for good. If our capital crumbles, that we'll still be giving financial aid to Israel, that we need to fight anti-Semitism, that if you're, according to Donald Trump, if you're Jewish and you don't support Israel enough, to which Ann Coulter had a really funny statement. She said, hey, Trump, let's start slowly and try to get them to like America first, because there's a lot of liberals who don't like America. It's the one thing that Republicans won't talk about. And there's a reason. And they want to make that reason illegal to say. Meanwhile, they're parading around their documentaries and how great they are. They're against double standards. They're against hate speech. They're for free speech. They're against identity politics. Meanwhile, all they do is play identity politics. All they do is have double standards. All they do is make a safe space that's so huge you would think it was the most liberal, snowflakey snowflake doing it. But as long as it's for their political agenda and their religious agenda, they don't care. And the worst part about this is what a lot of Jewish people are noticing and messaging me really beautiful things, whether it's Israeli Orthodox Jews or secular American Jews. It's not helping Israel, and it's not helping Jewish people. Everybody is admitting, from the ADL to others, anti-Semitism's on the rise, anti-Semitism's on the rise, anti-Semitism's on the rise. It's because you can't legislate hate. You can't legislate hate speech and expect people to like you more. You can't just get rid of how someone feels by stopping them from saying what they feel. That's actually the worst thing you can do. And when moderate people like me try to tell the truth to Blaze TV and Daily Wire and Turning Point and all these organizations. They don't work with me. They don't book me. They try to label me something I'm not, and they try to ban me from existence, kick me off of podcasts. It's already happened, and make sure no one hears my message. And then the far right grows and grows and grows because they kick people off of social media. They kick people out of the conservative movement, and then they're wondering why anti-Semitism's rising, because they're not allowing for it not to rise with a peaceful, honest message like mine that a lot of Jewish people want to hear. Obviously, I can't speak for everyone under the sun. Some agree, some disagree, and that's awesome. But the point is, they're making hate rise. They're making anti-Semitism rise. All of these conservative organizations, even Donald Trump now, the ADL and all these liberal organizations, they think that they can legislate hate and stop people from not liking a certain group of people by being insane and taking away free speech. You're only making it worse for Israel. You're only making it worse for Jewish people. If I have a question about Italians, the whole world doesn't come down on me. I can say anything I want about white Europeans. No one cares. It's mainstream news. I could call Trump supporters Nazi. I could call white people Nazi. But if you do 1/1000th of what these groups are trying to stop you with anti-Semitism laws, they'll call you a racist, sexist, homophobe bigot. So the double standards, the hypocrisy is mounting. It's like everything that they're doing, they want to stop you from either doing it or saying it. I don't care who has loyalty to what country. But the truth is the truth. If you tell me one thing, I'm not allowed to say it. If I was to say that a lot of the people who are testifying against Donald Trump are Jewish, they would call me an anti-Semite and try to kick me off of social media. But when Jewish news organizations brag about it, that's completely fine. It's the same thing with AIPAC. If I was to suggest that they were lobbying politicians, I'd be a racist, sexist, anti-Semite who has to disavow, and my whole life would be ruined. They take all my finances away from me and try to say, oh my goodness, Anomaly's a crazy anti-Semite. But they openly brag about it on their Twitter. But if you dare suggest it, your life will be destroyed, not just by liberals, but by Republicans. So this is an important message because I love Jewish people and I want the hate to go down. I want true anti-Semitism to go down. It's not what they say it is. It's not what the State Department says it is. It's not what the ADL says it is. They're exaggerating and it's not helpful. It only makes people more upset. And if the Republicans and conservatives think a hardline Daily Wire TPUSA stance is an anti-First Amendment, America's second or third or fourth stance, and that's going to be cool, and you think that that's going to last the test of time, and you think you're just going to censor and silence and blacklist us out of existence, you're out of your mind. This is a losing battle, so you'd be very wise to accept what our founding fathers wanted, which is the First Amendment, freedom of speech, and stop giving it away for a foreign country and a group of people, and then trying to say it's illegal to say that you're doing that. It's pretty nutty. I hope people learned a lot today. God bless you guys. And for the sake of Jewish people worldwide, understand how hate works. You can show people love, you can show people the truth, and that lowers their hate. When you stop people from saying the truth, when you stop people from having a conversation, and when you have insane double standards in legislation for speech, you only create more hate, you only create more disdain, you only create more enemies. And I don't think that's what anybody wants, and that's not what I want. So hopefully they allow me to be the moderate voice in this debate, because if they don't, the fringes and the far groups are going to just keep gaining momentum. It's largely happened because they've banned so many people off of YouTube, they have nowhere to go, then they go to their echo chamber, and then someone like me comes along and tries to tell the truth calmly and honestly and accurately and out of the love, and they group me in with that and try to ruin my life and take my platform away. So let me know what you think in the comment section. God bless you, and I'm making this video out of the love for freedom, out of the love for free speech, out of the love for America, and out of the love for all people in the world, including my Jewish brothers and sisters in America and worldwide. Thank you for listening. I appreciate your support and have a beautiful day.